Tonight, when you crawl into your bed, pull up the blanket, and rest your head on a pillow, it probably feels like the most normal thing in the world. Beds are such a basic part of modern life that we rarely stop to think about them. But for most of human history, people didn't sleep in comfortable mattresses with soft sheets. In fact, the idea of a bed has evolved dramatically over thousands of years. The story of beds turns out to be surprisingly ancient, and it reveals a lot about how humans adapted to survive, stay comfortable, and even protect themselves while sleeping. So, when did humans start sleeping in beds? Were early humans lying on piles of leaves? Did ancient civilizations invent the first mattresses? And how did we go from simple sleeping mats to the plush beds many of us enjoy today? Let's get into it, right here, on History of Simple Things. To understand when beds appeared, we first need to go back to a time long before houses, furniture, or even permanent settlements existed. Early humans, like their distant ancestors, most likely slept directly on the ground. For hundreds of thousands of years, people lived as hunter-gatherers, constantly moving in search of food. When night came, they simply rested wherever it was safe, sometimes on bare earth, sometimes on grass, and sometimes inside caves. But sleeping directly on the ground came with problems. The ground could be cold, damp, and full of insects. There were also dangers from snakes, rodents, and other animals that might crawl nearby during the night. Because of this, early humans likely began making simple sleeping areas using natural materials. Leaves, grass, branches, and animal skins were layered together to create a slightly softer and cleaner place to rest. These early sleeping spots weren't beds in the modern sense, but they were the first step toward the idea of separating the body from the ground. Archaeologists have actually discovered evidence of what may be the earliest beds ever made. One remarkable discovery comes from a cave in South Africa called Border Cave. Researchers found layers of plant material arranged in ways that suggest people intentionally created bedding areas. These plant beds date back roughly 200,000 years. Another fascinating site is Sibudu Cave, where archaeologists uncovered carefully constructed sleeping mats made from grass and leaves. Some of these beds are estimated to be about 77,000 years old. What's even more interesting is that some of the plants used in these bedding layers may have had insect-repelling properties. This suggests early humans weren't just trying to get comfortable, they were also trying to keep bugs away while they slept. In other words, even tens of thousands of years ago, humans were already thinking about sleep quality. For a very long time, bedding remained simple. People continued to sleep on mats made from plants, furs, or woven materials placed directly on the ground. But eventually, humans discovered something important. Raising the sleeping surface off the ground made a huge difference. A raised bed could help with several problems at once. It kept sleepers away from dirt, moisture, insects, and crawling animals. It also improved airflow, which could make sleeping more comfortable in warm climates. Some of the earliest raised beds appeared in ancient civilizations. One of the oldest examples comes from ancient Egypt, where wealthy people slept on wooden bed frames as early as 3000 BCE. These Egyptian beds looked very different from modern ones. They were often made of wood, sometimes decorated with carvings or gold, and slightly curved to support the body. Instead of soft mattresses, people slept on woven surfaces or simple cushions. Interestingly, Egyptian beds were often quite high off the ground, and small stools were sometimes used as steps to climb into them. During the Middle Ages, beds became an important symbol of wealth and status. In medieval Europe, a bed was often the most expensive piece of furniture in a home. Large wooden bed frames were sometimes covered with curtains or canopies that surrounded the sleeper. These curtains served several purposes. They helped retain warmth in cold stone buildings, offered privacy in shared rooms, and kept insects away. Mattresses during this time were usually filled with straw, wool, or feathers and placed on rope supports. Over time, people had to tighten these ropes because they would loosen with use. This is where the phrase "sleep tight" may have originated. For wealthy families, beds could be incredibly elaborate, featuring carved wood, embroidered fabrics, and thick layers of bedding. For everyone else, sleeping conditions were still much simpler. The real transformation of beds began in the 18th and 19th centuries, when technology started changing how mattresses were made. Earlier mattresses were often uneven and needed constant maintenance. Straw mattresses, for example, had to be regularly replaced because the straw would break down over time. In the 1800s, mattress designs began improving. Cotton and wool fillings became more common, and manufacturers started experimenting with better structures for support. One of the biggest breakthroughs came in the late 19th century with the invention of the coil spring mattress. These mattresses used metal springs inside to provide support and maintain shape. This innovation made beds far more comfortable and durable than ever before. By the 20th century, beds had become a standard part of everyday life in many parts of the world. Mass production made mattresses and bed frames more affordable, allowing more people to enjoy proper beds instead of sleeping on the floor. New materials also appeared, including foam, latex, and memory foam. Pillows improved, blankets became softer, and bed design turned into a major industry focused on comfort and sleep quality. Today, entire fields of science study sleep and mattress design to help people rest better. What started as simple piles of leaves has evolved into highly engineered sleep systems designed for health and relaxation. So the next time you climb into bed, remember, you're participating in a tradition that stretches back tens of thousands of years. A simple act that connects us directly to the earliest humans who once arranged leaves on the floor of a cave, hoping for a good night's sleep. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.